Okay, and everybody can see my screen, right?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay. And I forgot to change the first image because I'm doing a go live today. Great. Okay, not a problem. This is not the agenda for today. This was from the last time, and I didn't update it the first slide. Luckily. Okay. So yeah, if you're here for the first time in this meeting, you go to this page every week. This gets updated after this meeting normally, by max by tomorrow, and you register for the next one. If you're here and you don't want to register every week, then just drop your name and email in the chat, and I'll make sure you get invited in the future meetings automatically till the point you don't say to kind of unsubscribe from the mailing list. Just a note, I'll not be available for next 2 weeks, so we'll be doing the next one on actually on the Christmas Eve, if you guys want to make it then. So next 2 weeks I'm out, and then if it's possible, then default attendees will get an invite for sure. I'm not sure about the 18th one yet, but if I'm available, the default attendees will get an invite. Otherwise, 25th is for sure confirm. Okay. So today it's about questions that we have, and we'll see. There is one thing I guess that I'll go in a little bit detail. So we'll start with the first question, which is from Sam, I guess. Sam, were you able to fix this, or is this still a problem?
The problem is the problem. Actually, I was just setting up NAV, NAV, but it wasn't a demo database. It was actually customers database. I didn't have the local administrator, so I had to take over the company. So I deployed it, created the service tier, and then kept the default service account, which is anti-authority network service. That's fine. Just went back to SQL Server, granted it all permissions within the server and the local database. But when I try to start the service, it just doesn't start it. It says, I don't remember the name. The peer, hang on. Yeah, there is a peer networking entity failing to start or something. Last time we tried to fix it, you said there is a sub account. It was HTTP something. I didn't find it through the services available.
Oh, you didn't find that?
No.
Okay, that should be there.
But actually, I fixed it. I had to use a different service account. It was anti-authority system. Again, went to SQL Server, granted it all permissions, sufficient permissions, DBO and data read and all that fun stuff. It worked, but the anti-authority network system didn't. For some reason, I don't even know why.
So, as far as I know, the article that you are referring here gives you a SQL query, which assigns all these things that are required for the service account. Other than that, if it is, and then I'm pretty sure it should be working at that point. But if it does not, then the only permission on the SQL level that you need is a user mapping on that database with a DB owner on it, and that's it. You don't need even the other permission. It's just the DB owner that will work with to start the service. So yeah,
I
and
tried actually membership as well, granted it through membership.
okay, yeah. As in, if you have the event logger message which can talk about something, I'll be happy to maybe have a look on it. But because I actually, after you have this question added in the form, I actually created an environment on my Azure. I installed nav 2018, tried to use a domain account, it worked with just simple settings. Sometime this also happens that you might have set SPN for some other things, and because that was required till 2013 R2, that you have to set SPN for the service account. And starting 2015, Microsoft automatically creates it. But if an SPN already exists in your system, that can cause problems. So I don't know, what are you using older versions of Nav and running client on your system? That might have some legacy SPNs stored, which might need to be cleaned up.
Yeah, this is basically what I thought of, and I just browsed the internet, found it, and this is basically the link I just sent in the chat. In the chat, it's actually how to fix peer networking group error. It's actually code 1068 something. This is obviously not related to NAV or BSC for that matter,
Yeah,
but they explain how to fix it. I didn't go through it for some reason because service just started up, just had to change the service account.
oh, okay. Okay, that sounds good.
This
But yeah, sorry,
this is
you're
an
saying?
extensive this is an extensive solution as you go through the registry, you modify keywords and all of that, words if you will.
Right. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
Right.
And we'll see that. What's that? This is from Balaji, and Balaji is here. Balaji, you would like to explain about this question? And I guess that you said this is for NAV 2018.
Yeah, correct. So the issue is okay. So we had a default profile, and then we had used that profile configurator mode, and then say on the sales order page, so we had readjusted the actions and icons in a specific way. So this
Right.
is all over, and what we did is say after this is over, and then we created a new action for one of our new functionality. So we created a new action, and now what we did is we enabled the default profile what we had customized earlier. And when we are trying to add that icon to a different group, we create a new group and then we try to add, we are not able to add that. The system, it is not taking that the created group. It doesn't show the new group at all. But it adds the new when we set the default settings, and then if we set the default settings to true, and then we try to create the group and add that new action icon, it is getting added. So this is because the customization has been done, the profile personalization has been done earlier, and then is it not possible to add a new icon or a new action after that?
Yeah, it is not in the reason, and you're talking about nav versions, right? Till nav versions, there were no, as in there were extensions in nav 2018, but the personalization were treated as in the configuration mode. Any changes that you make were stored as XML in the system,
Yes.
and you cannot override it unless you remove it completely. That's the way it was stored back in the database. Now with the newer versions, it actually stores it as a customization, page customization. So it allows you to play around with things. Like you can go into profile customization and then come back to the page and move fields or add groups and all, because it's an extension on top of an extension.
Okay.
Whereas in the previous version, it was actually stored as XML, and that's the reasoning when you upgrade from an NAV version to a Business Central version, your personalization and data does not upgrade with it. You'll have to drop all these user personalization after your upgrade or during your upgrade, more or less.
Okay. So
And
with this XML file, we cannot do anything, right? The
you
XML
cannot,
file. Uh-huh.
you can't even try playing with it, because I have tested it. Because in upgrade sometime it fails, even in the NAV versions, and you can't actually go ahead and modify that file, more or less.
Okay.
And when you go to the Business Central version, those personalization are tagged as legacy. And the problem with the legacy one is, if there is a legacy personalization which is stored as XML, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't allow you to do the design mode or the personalized mode on a page if there is a legacy personalization attached. So you
But
actually have to delete those before you go forward.
okay, but this personalization done in nav, can it be upgraded to Business Central? Like
No,
then how this legacy personalizations will be taken over? It
they come as it is, but and they work as it is till the point you don't have to do any further personalization. If you do further personalization, it'll show you a lock icon on the top left corner that this page is locked because there are legacy personalization, and you'll have to
oh,
come and clean them up before customers start using design or personalized mode.
okay.
So, as in Microsoft brings that data, but then it
Ha ha ha.
restricts you to do any further personalization on specific pages.
Okay, okay. Yes, I got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome. Okay, so let's move ahead, and then we have a new question from Umang. And Umang, I don't know which code you are using to do this. And the scenario, guys, is that Umang is trying to merge PDFs from Business Central. Uh, and Umang, yeah, you can explain it maybe better.
Uh, yes, we are trying to achieve this functionality for one of our customer. Actually, we are attaching the PDF to customize document attachment table, right? We are giving we have custom page of item ledger entry, and there we are attaching some PDF with that lot numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are giving one action on inventory picks to get this attached PDF merged, and we are trying to download a single PDF, and that PDF will have all these PDF merged, right? Are you
Okay.
getting my point?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's all we are trying to do. And what we have achieved a lots of things. But what is the issue? We have used the JavaScript over it, right? We have used the control add-ins, and the output is not controllable output. Sometimes we are getting the complete merged files, but sometimes we are getting only one or two PDFs. Sometimes we are getting the blank PDFs. So output is not controllable actually.
Hmm. Okay, Umang, and when I searched for it today, I had no idea that there are
Uh,
add-ins
I
available. And I don't know
I
you are
did
using this or not.
I did lots of investigation on that and found that the data exchange between JavaScript and BC actually is happening with the base 64 string from BC, and the text the string from the JavaScript. So I think the data is what we say, the overloaded as per the string is concerned, and that is why we are getting the different outputs every time. As far as my thinking is saying, this might be the issue.
Okay. I don't know. As I was saying, when I was searching about it today on web, I found this GitHub repo which I have added in there, and I don't know are you using the same one or not. Uh, this is kind of using the same method as you're saying, which is using the JavaScript
I
to.
think this is the same version I've taken as a reference. This is the same code.
Okay. Did you created an issue here? Maybe the developer knows about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've raised an issue, and he told me that he'll get back to me, but it's a little bit hurry, so I'm finding the more sufficient ways to get that done.
Okay, so if you are thinking it's around 64-bit string length issue, which may be an issue, I'm also thinking about it. Um, how about you split the whole merge into multiple pieces,
Mm,
which means that if there are 10 files, you actually merge the two files
Mm-hmm.
and save that from streams into a blob, and then take that file, which is the merge of first two, as the first file, and then pick the third file and repeat it till the end. So eventually it is not merging all 10 files in one go. It is actually breaking that merge into multiple pieces.
But eventually we will not have any idea that how many counts of blobs will need to use
No, you
for.
don't need to. So
Yeah.
the way it'll work, like let's take an example of document attachment that's available in Business Central, right?
Right.
In the document attachment section, you can actually have a field, a custom field at your range, a Boolean field, that this is a merge PDF. Okay. Now, when you start executing your code, which merges all these PDF,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there will be all the records, let's say 10 records here with 10 attachment with that Boolean set to false because they are standard attachments. Then
Right.
while your code is executing, what you do is you take two files, merge them in, upload it back into the attached document, but this time with that Boolean set. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Once that get uploaded back into attached document, this time you pick the first one and you take the second file which is not yet processed, merge them again, and then upload it again with that tick. So eventually you can keep on doing that till the point your all records with uh, unchecked, which are the standard attachment, are processed, and you get one single file with all attachment, and then you can either download it, put it on email, whatever you're going to do after that.
Yeah, I think because the big headache will be that I'll need to manage the sequences as well. I'll need to merge some kind of documents first for some items. Like if I'm having the three items over inventory pick, then I need to merge some documents for item one. Then we'll need to go for item two, and then we'll need to go for item three. So I'll need to manage the sequence as well. So that
So
may
in
be.
case there are three
Yeah.
items, then how many PDFs you generate? One or three?
No, actually, one item will have it's one kind of data sheet, right? The data sheet will have, I think, 5 to 6 pages PDF, the single PDF with 5 to 6 pages, right? Then
Right.
then the other will have some kind of analysis certificates, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that for one item there may be multiple lots, right? Then multiple lots will have multiple COA, and the data sheet will have the 5 to 6 page the PDF, right? Then for one item, approximately I'll need to have the three PDF, which will have the total pages of 13 to 15, 30 to 15 total pages. So this is for item one only, and
And what you
that
do with that PDF once it is generated?
that simply that PDF will simply be downloaded on the client's PC. That's it. And once it is down, there are two action actually. One will download this merge PDF, and second will email this merge PDF. So there are two actions actually then.
But in case of email, it doesn't run out of the max attachment size that you can attach to an email.
Yeah, it's 20 MB, and I think it will not reach to 20 MB, because as
Hmm.
of now, as per my tasting, it's not taking that, it's not consuming that much size.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, but the only way, if because I refer to this, I did test it for, I guess, five attachment, and that might not be the your case, and it seems working fine. But if it is going beyond, I totally agree that it might be because of the length of the base 64 string that's being generated for it.
Yeah, yeah,
And for that, the only way that you can do it is by breaking your generation into multiple pieces.
right. No,
Okay.
I'll try your suggestion. If you got something else, then please consider that.
Yeah, I'll think about it if I can. But yeah, That makes sense. Okay, thanks, Umang.
Yeah. Thanks, Saurav. Thanks for your time.
Okay, let's move the next one, and this is again from Balaji. And Balaji, this is around my notification. You want to create a custom notification? Does that make sense?
Yes. So I wanted to have a custom notification on the sales document, and then the notification I wanted in that my notification page as a setup where I can have a filter on enable it or disable it. So is it possible, like to have it on that my notification page as we have the other standard notifications?
Yes, everything is possible, I guess. And we haven't talked about notifications till now here, so it's a good time, I guess, we talk about it. So let's say a sample scenario of how you use a notification. The sample scenario is customer requires a notification when the resource is selected on the sales transactions. Only in certain cases, if like resource don't have a social security number defined, then notification should be popped up. And user, as Balaji was saying, should be able to activate or deactivate notification under my settings. Now, in I guess nav 2018 or somewhere, Microsoft added some new data types in nav which will allow us to perform these steps related to notification. And those two new data types were notification and notification scope. So what we'll do today is we'll create a simple notification, and then there are ways to kind of set the data and get data with notification. You can also have different actions attached to a notification if required. And at the end, you can also add those notification into my settings, or what we call as user notifications. Other than having a possibility to save them or have an option for users to enable and disable them, you don't need a GUID for notification. But if you need to define and control it by users in my settings, then you need to have a unique GUID for your notification. So let me find where my VS Code is, and maybe we'll use the same which we just created a while ago. Let me zoom this in. Okay. Let's delete the hello world. And let's talk about the notification. So first what we want to do is let's create a new file, sample notification.codeunit.al. Okay. Okay. And let me name it as sample notification. The first thing we need to do is we need to have a unique notification ID for the notification that I'm creating. And because that notification ID is used later on in the project to kind of control it at the user level. So let's create a procedure which will always return that GUID because it's used so many places. So let's say get resource notification ID. The idea of this function is written GUID so that it can be used in different parts of the system. And then the only thing that this function does is exits and GUID. And if you don't know, there is a extension in VS Code called create GUID, and that gives you one single command, which is create GUID. Once I click on create GUID, you'll see a GUID popped up here, and it'll get copied into my clipboard. Here it is. And this is unique per system, per machine. There are so many parameters, it can't be as per Microsoft, it will never, there will never be a situation where GUIDs will overlap. I don't know how long that statement will be true, but as of today, that's how it is. So now the notification that we are going to create will be identified by this GUID. And you should not be using this GUID. You should always get the unique GUID for your notification if you're creating it. Now, the next thing is how we invoke it. So as the requirement said, that we want to invoke it if the customer uses it on the sales line, the resource on the sales line, which is kind of defined by the number field on the sales line. So what we can do is we can subscribe to the event of our sales line, and just to keep it simple, you can surely spend time into it, but on after validate, there are other events available if you have to use them, which makes sense. But I'm just saying when the number gets validated. Okay. And this is check resource, check and send resource notification. And then we will get the rec. Okay, now there are scenarios that I don't want it to handle it, which is if my rec type is not resource, then I don't want to move forward with this event, and it as in subscriber, and it goes out. And then I need to check that did I find the resource or not. So let's define the resource. If I cannot find the resource, then go out. Now the scenario was that we were checking, let me go back one step, social security number. So the next thing that I want to check, that does the resource have social security number or not. Okay. So if my code reaches, compiler reaches to this point while executing this code, then I'm good to define my notification. So let's define a new variable for notification. Let's call it as resource. Now, the notification data types allows us to do certain specific things, which is I can just set a message, and I can say, let's say this is a test notification, and I can, the other important parameter on every notification is the resource scope. There is information available on the scope parameter, but there are two settings of scope. One is the global scope and one is the local scope. It was not that much clear for me what those two options are, but anywhere where you see Microsoft code, they're using the local scope, which means the scope of that page where that notification is being popped up. Once you have defined the scope and defined your message, that's the minimum that you need for the notification to pop up. And then you can just call the notification, okay, send. This is the easiest notification that you can send. It doesn't have other details. It just have a very straightforward message that this is a test notification. And let's quickly test it that the basic one is working or not. And then we'll use other things that are available with the notification. Okay, let's see. Okay, so at this point, if I go into my sales order, let's pick one sales order, and I doubt that will have any. Oh, okay, and let's check Catherine, and it did not pop up. That's good. Let's see, does it have the social security number? No, it does not. Okay, so that means what we were testing is not working, which makes no sense. I have subscribed to the sales line on after validate. I've checked that the type is a resource. I'm pretty sure I get the resource number. If it is not blank, yeah, then it exits. Otherwise, it initializes the notification with the message, with the scope, and then tries to send it. Okay, is there any parameters on send? No. Well, it will display in UI. Okay, let me see. Let's try to add one more. I need to increase the size. That's weird. This should be popping up a message in this case. It did publish the extension, so okay. Where is that failing? Okay. What is the resource? It should get the resource. Oh, sorry, my bad. See, sometimes the basic programming can fail drastically. It will get the resource and exit out of it. Super dumb. Okay. Let's try to publish this again. Okay. And let's try to add a resource. And we get a notification that this is a test notification, which is a pretty straightforward, nothing confusing and nothing complex on this notification per se. So that's the basic that you need to kind of have a notification in your system, that you can just define it, and then you can just set the message what you want, set the scope, and send it. Now let's talk about, or let's use other parameters into it and make it a little bit interesting here. So let me say this is my coming from my it's printing something like social security number is not defined so that it is useful for user. For resource, okay, I'll have to use my substitute string number. Okay, and let me zoom this in here. Okay, and then we will pass the rec dot number, or just to be clear, resource dot number. Okay, so now the message would be that the social security number is not defined for that particular resource. But what if I want to send other data? Then there are two methods that can be used. One of them is your set data. The set data allows you to give a name to the value that you are sending, and then the value that you want to set in the notification. So when you use the set data, I can say, let's say resource dot field name for the number, and then I can pass the resource dot number as value. I can use the same if I have to pass multiple things. I can also set data and say this is my resource name, and then this passes the name. So you can also send the data, set the data into a notification. Now when you do that, let's see how it looks. Now this set data can again in going forward be used to be get somewhere else while you are doing some other activities on this notification, and we'll see that. If I go into my sales order again try to add the resource here. It says social security number is not defined for resource Catherine, which is the default message, but then the set data doesn't show you anything. It'll be used somewhere else. Okay, so we'll see where that is used. So your message is now more logical to user when he's seeing it. And then the other part is what we do if we have set this data in this notification. We have used the set data and it is being sent, and it can be, now do we want with that notification to allow user to navigate to that particular page and set the social security number? And that's in notification is called as action. So if you have to do something like this, you can again come here and add an action. Now action needs a caption, a code unit ID, and a method name, which will be called when user clicks on that action. So when I call add action, I need 3 parameters. One is the caption text, which is what you want user to see, which can be update resource. Then what code unit you would like to use, where you will define what happens when user clicks on it. So let's add a new file, and you can use the same code unit if required, but let's say notification handler .al, and this becomes my code unit 0102. Okay, this is the code unit where I'll handle when user clicks on something. So the second parameter is the code unit ID. So I can pass the code unit and then the name of that code unit, which I've copied. So when user clicks on update resource, if a user clicks on update report, this code unit will be called. But then which method in that code unit is important, and that's what you define as the last parameter of add action is the method name, which is open, let's say resource card. Now this method name should be exactly same in your calling code unit, which is the notification handler in this case, and that should be defined as global. So we'll remove the local from here and we'll use the same name. The other rule here is the way system understand that it is calling the right code unit and right method is that method should have a it requires a parameter which is your notification. In our case, let's say it's called as resource notification of type notification. Now system will know that, okay, this is the function or this is the method that's required to be open when user clicks on that action. Now, but I cannot open the resource card directly. I need to have a way that I can open that particular resource card. So let's first to open or create a variable for resource card. But I need to have a reference which record need to be open in this case. So I'll also create a resource table reference. Now this notification that I'm sending will automatically get this particular notification and will also pass whatever I have set here. So anything that you use in your notification while you are defining it and you kind of set that data, then you have a possibility to get that data in your handler code unit. So I can actually say that my resource table get the resource. Now which resource I need to get is defined based on my this notification dot get data, and the name of the parameter should be same, and I have used the field caption which will not change. So I can actually use the same thing here to link it here. This will return it the resource number which is set on this notification, and then I can use that set data to get the data here. Stop me if it is getting confusing. Now based on this, anyone was saying something?
Well, I'm stopping you. I'm confused.
Sorry,
I'm confused.
you're confused?
I am. I don't really understand how it would detect that I'm using this specific notification.
Okay, let's see that. Let's actually see that so that we understand the sequence of, as in, yeah, it's a little bit confusing because it is not passing it as a reference. There's no calling of this to there, right? But the way these notifications are kind of linked is super interesting. So if I do a publish, you should be able to see it here once it get published. Okay, let's come to my sales order. Come in here. Oh, it doesn't show me the action. That's where it should show me the action. I did do the add action, right? Let me see. I did my message set is here, and then I have set the local scope. Then I have set the data for, let's keep it simple because I'm not using it. Resource number, just to keep it simple. And then let's me change it here also. Resource number.
So Ralph, does it have to be, go back to the notification add action? Does it have to be the first parameter? Doesn't need to have the double quotes.
Let's see. Okay.
Code unit. Say you just update resource. This is the caption. Does it have to be between curly braces? I mean, simple quotes.
Let me just set this one.
Line 30.
This one?
Yeah.
What you're saying? This part?
Yeah. Does it have to be around? No. Update resource.
That's okay. Yeah, that should work. Or let me just change it to a label if that. No.
Yeah, just define a label and use it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, update resource is a label of type this. Okay. So I'm going to add an action called update resource, and then there is a code unit that's gonna call, and then there is an function or the method is open resource card, which will pass the resource number, and the resource number is just a text, and then this text should be passed here and should get the data here for sure. Or let me just get it in a variable. Resource number. Let's pass it as text. Okay. So let's set it up here, because the problem right now I'm seeing is I don't see that action there. The action should be there for update resource. And once the action is there, then we can talk about is it being called and is it being invoked or not. But I don't see that action. I guess that's my problem at this point. Okay, so we came back to sales order. Okay, let's choose again the resource. Oh, maybe that was the label. Social security number is not defined for resource. Catherine, do you want to update the resource?
You should have asked me since the beginning.
Yeah, man. I should have. Okay, so let's come here. So it reaches here. Let's go down. It gets the Catherine resource, which was set in the notification when we were defining it, and then rest of the code follows as it is. So it pops up the card. User can come here, set this up, and go back whenever he is done with this. Now that was the second thing, and that's the reason why these set data and get data are used most of the time, which is so that you can use those references while you are trying to use your action that you have defined in your notification. So based on the single line, which is add action, and as Sam said, and maybe that's how it is, I actually never thought about it that much. You need to define that as a label. Then there's a code unit that you define, and then the method. The only thing you need to remember that this method should be global, and this method should have a parameter of type notification. And then based on that notification, you can actually get the data based on a field and then do your things. Now, what else is left on the notification other than adding it? Okay, so let me see. This was notification. We have done add action. We have done get data. As data, just validate is there a data or not. ID, we haven't talked about it. We'll come to it. Message recall just recalls the message that has been sent, which is just clears it. Scope, we have used it. Send just sends the notification, and then set data is used to set the data. Now let's come around how you control it based on the setup that you want to control it to. Now, the page that where user controls all these settings under my settings, change and when I receive notification. This page, okay, let me see, where is this? Help and support. Okay, this page, I guess 1518, have some events which will allow us to kind of add these notification into this page. So let's filter that out. So my notification page, okay, have a method to initialize notification with the default state, which means whatever the default stage will be, that means will it be by default enable or by default disable, I can define it here. At the same time, there are other variants of this method, which is default state. Oh, there's only one variant now. Okay. So using this, I can initialize or define my new notification in Business Central, my custom notification, as the part of this page. Now let's also quickly look at the table that it is dealing with, which is, I guess, the same table, my notification. Yes. This table allows me to disable a notification if I have to do from code. Also, it checks about the filters. There is an init record, which means using this, I can define a record in this. There is an insert default, which also invokes the init record. So that means this method, which is local, I cannot use it directly. I'll have to use the insert default. Insert default has some variants. One is just simple insert default. The other is insert default with table number. If your notification is attached to one specific table, then you can use the insert default with table number. And then there is one with table number and filter. If you have to pass the filters in your notification that user can set, then you can call this. And I guess that's all. This one. Yes. Okay. So what we'll do is we will, because ours is simple one, we'll use the insert default with table number because we know this is for the resource. Now, the way it is done to kind of invoke that method every time that kind of page opens is you can actually subscribe to one of the event in that page, so that every time that page gets opened, it checks is your notification already added into the page or not, and if not, it'll just add it. So let's subscribe to that event on the page where the page is my notification. Now inside this, we should have an event for initializing notification default state on initializing, not on after. So while the page is being initialized and checking for all the notification in a default stage, I actually want to add one of my notification that we have just created. So using this pattern, I can add my resource notification. So to add that, I'll have to use my notification, which is my notification. As I told you that there are 3 variants of adding new notification. One of them is insert, or all of them start with insert. One is insert default, where you just give the notification ID, notification name, the description, and the default state, which is either it's enabled or disabled by default. The other one is with the table number, where you'll also have to pass the table number that this notification is linked to, and then there are other options. So the first parameter is the notification ID, and we have created this method to get the ID. So I'll just define this or call this here. This will get me the ID of my notification. The second is, what is the notification name? So this time I'm going to follow what Sam said last time, to define them as labels.
Good call.
Right. Yeah. All right. Let's say it's resource does not or missing social security number. This is the title that will be displayed to the user, and then we need a notification description, which is show a warning when a resource without social security number is used in sales transaction. Okay. So I need the name, so I'll pass this. Then the next I need is description, and then the default state, if user have not changed it, is true. If a user have defined it as false for him, then that's okay. Otherwise, oh sorry, the next one is the table number. So the table number for me is database resource, which means in this case I'm hoping this is set to be default true. If init record notification ID, then apply to ID is table number and insert. It doesn't define that. Okay. So if init record, where is init record? If not get enable, if not get, okay. So it's by default set to true in this method. Otherwise, it gets set on other options of insert based on whatever you send. This method does not have a option for kind of keeping it disabled. It will always be enabled in that case. So now whenever we open our page of my settings, once we publish this, we should be able to see this. So let's test this part. Then the last part is to kind of invoke this when it happens. That invocation is a little bit different. Okay. And this time it gets loaded here. Okay. When I'm coming here, I should go to my settings and see, do I see a or missing social security number? Here it is. When you click on this, it gives you that detail that we have just added into the description part. It shows a warning when a resource without social security number is used in sales transaction, and then you have an option to enable or disable it. But okay. Moving further, this doesn't initiate that. This is just a definition of having this available into that my setting page. Now we have to do a very little change in our notification that we have added, so that it, instead of by default being invoked, it is now controlled based on what user have said. So let's define my notification here also. Record of my notification. And then the my notification should have a method to check. Okay, is enabled. Now this checks, and then there is one more, is enabled for record or not. Ours is with the record attached, so we'll use the is enabled for record, which requires a notification GUID and the record. So my notification GUID will come from get resource notification ID, and then my record is my resource. So I can say that if it is not enabled, then that's it. No worries. Be happy. But if it is enabled, then I also have to define the ID in this case. And I cannot send it directly. I'll have to do it with the pattern that is available for notification cycle management. Notification lifecycle management. Now this code unit will check for all the preconditions, all the checks that you are sending here, and then we'll send the notification to the user if everything looks good in terms of enabled, what are the filters, if there are filters in yours, then it'll make sure that only that goes ahead. So the send notification needs the notification to send and the record ID, which in our case is again the resource table. Dot record ID. Okay. Now this behind the scene handles the lifecycle management handles that is it created, it is not, what next action should be done. And I'm thinking maybe this also checks this. I haven't looked at it completely, but I'm hoping it will check for this. Okay, it checks for the notification ID and then it sends it on after notification and then create notification context. Yeah. So there are other things that it does which are not done if you directly send it. So now we have defined it. Let's go ahead and first disable our notification and we'll check that once that's gets published. Okay. So now let's go ahead and first go ahead and go to my settings and first disable that notification. Okay, where is that one? Resource, no, that's not this. Okay, let me see. Maybe I opened the wrong tab. Let me refresh this. Okay. Our notification was called as missing social security number. And I don't see it now. Okay, missing social security number. So let's just disable it for a while. So right now for this user, which I'm using right now, the social security number check is disabled. So logically, if as a user I have disabled it for myself, I should not be getting that notification. And I didn't get it, which is good. Now as a user, if I go back and decide that from my settings, I would like to get that notification, just come here, enable this, come back to my sales order page and try to add my resource. And I get my notification back based on that condition, which is not set. And then I can click on update resource. This should open my resource card and I should be happily able to do assignment here and retest it. At this time, it should not pop up a notification, and it did not. So just by doing these 4 methods in your custom code, Balaji, you will be able to define your custom notification based on a setup also.
Okay. Thanks, Saurabh. It was very useful.
Okay, man. Thank you. So we have seen that. Okay, so as I said earlier in the beginning of the meeting, next time, if you guys can make it, we'll meet on 25th for sure. I'll try to make it on 18th. I'm not yet sure about it. But if I will be able to make it, the default attendees will get an invite for sure by 17th. Okay.
Yeah.
See you next time.
When would the recording be available?
Tomorrow, most probably. Tomorrow morning, my time.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes these Teams recording kind of breaks into multiple parts and then I have to sit and merge them in. So I don't know why this happens, but for 2-3 weeks I had that problem. So if everything was good and it's a single file, I'll upload it tomorrow morning, my time.
Again, thank you, Saurav. It was an inspiring moment. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Okay. Enjoy rest of your day or night, wherever you are. See you next time.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Saurabh. Bye.
Thanks.